Hello everyone, my name is Stephen Adams from Kingsbarn Real Estate Capital. I'm a first vice president, and alongside me I have David Rosenfeld. David, I appreciate you coming out and your expertise not only in brokerage, but as a DST investor as well. So I'd like to have you start off by just introducing yourself and then going over a little bit of your background.
David Rosenfeld. I'm the owner-operator of Advantage Real Estate in Santa Monica. I broker property. We represent people to buy and sell property. We are mortgage brokers, so we get these people loans for their property. We also do that for the general public. I also do syndications, and I've been doing this probably close to 40 years now.
So you've been in brokerage for 40 years. How long have you been owning and operating real estate, and what type of real estate do you personally own?
I've been owning and operating real estate for about the same amount of time.
Okay.
And mostly residential income. I've had a little bit of commercial, but not much. But it's really residential income, 4 units and above.
And then what type of clients do you typically deal with? Is it mom and pop? Do you ever deal with institutions? Are they single family homes?
I don't have any institutional clients, but mostly mom and pop, or I've got some clients that are pretty heavy duty investors.
So you've dealt with fee simple real estate basically your whole life.
Correct.
Up until this point where you're meeting a transition period. What originally got you interested in looking at DSTs as a viable 1031 exchange option?
The ability to diversify, the ability to get into institutional properties, and the ability to not have to operate them.
So now that you started doing your due diligence in DSTs, how did you come across Kingsbarn?
I was solicited by all the DST companies. All of them, it seems like. I could build a house out of all the paper I've received. So I just started vetting them. I just started making phone calls and speaking to them, and some I didn't get return calls, some I got super high pressure, and Kingsbarn was, I guess you'd say, the right amount of information and the right amount of feedback and the right amount of return calls, so I was more interested. Also, the answers that I received from you and from people from Kingsbarn in terms of my questions were succinct and correct and reasonable and verifiable.
So you know how to underwrite deals being a broker. So you did an extensive amount of due diligence before actually, placing your hard-earned capital into a DST. And now it's been a couple of years since you made your first investment. How many DSTs are you currently invested in with Kingsbarn?
I'm in eight DSTs now.
And how have you seen the performance in those assets that you invested in? Because you're in different states throughout the country, you're in different asset classes, different tenants. So what has the experience been like having a diversified portfolio like that, and how has it benefited you?
Well, in terms of the DSTs themselves, they're all performing as agreed, which is a very positive thing. And in terms of the diversification, that gives me just self-gratification that I'm spread around. That I'm not in one asset class, and I am not in one region of the country. So if there are major downturns, that I'm not stuck with all my eggs in one basket.
So now we'll look at it from the perspective of you as the broker. So as a broker, what do you look for in a sponsor? Certain character traits or sponsor traits before actually making the introduction?
Well, I make the introductions to people or organizations that I'm comfortable with. So I've done my vetting, and I've been very comfortable with Kingsbarn because of the communication, because of the asset classes, because of the consistency of payment.
Now, how important is communication through the 1031 exchange process, and how has Kingsbarn been for yourself as an investor, but also yourself as a broker?
Well, their communication was flawless with me, and I believe that they probably were even better with my clients because they knew that it was my reputation they were representing in addition to theirs.
And also, the fact that you've done multiple 1031 exchanges, you've done 8 with us, your clients might not have that same level of expertise where they need a little bit more hand-holding as far as understanding the identification time, the 45 days, 180 days to close. So do you feel like we've taken some stress off of them as far as dealing with those tight timelines?
Well, fortunately for myself and all my clients, there was always a product available.
Mhm.
So there was no downtime in terms of waiting. We did not have to exercise the 45-day waiting period. We went literally from the sale of their property and right into a DST. So they only, if in terms of income, they only lost a maximum of 1 day.
Mhm. And that's a huge benefit here because the cash flow, a lot of the investors are mom and pop type owners where they need the income from the properties to pay other expenses. So if they had their money with an accommodator, 45 days to ID, 180 days to close, that could be 6 months of no cash flow, where a lot of these type of owners, they don't have cash sitting in the bank where they could cover all their expenses. So I feel like that's also been another strength that's helped, you and your clients to relieve some of the stress of what are they going to exchange into. On the flip side, what type of feedback have you received from clients after putting them in a DST with Kingsbarn?
It's all been positive. They're very pleased. They become they become pleased when they receive the first payment.
Mm-hmm.
They become very confident and relaxed when they receive the second payment.
Of course. And then as far as the timeline, because these clients you've had relationships with probably for 20 plus years, some of them, and now they finally let you list their property. You've now completed the sale, and now they're trying to say, what should I exchange into? What's out there? What type of traits do you look for in a client that you say, hey, maybe you should potentially look into a DST?
Well, when they are looking for less stress,
Mm-hmm.
less hands-on,
Mm-hmm.
and consistent income,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I put them in the DSTs. A lot of them want triple nets,
Mm-hmm.
but they usually don't have enough money to get what it is that they want.
Mm-hmm.
They usually want something that, get me a McDonald's, get me something with a name on it, and they don't realize they don't have enough money for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes a big difference. And with a DST, they can actually spread it around to more than one product.
Mm-hmm.
And they like that, and they like the idea of not being in one basket.
Now, as far as your client base, do you think a lot of them just aren't familiar with the DST? And once they actually are able to understand that this product exists as a viable 1031 exchange option, then it really opens their eyes to a new type of investment? Or do you think they're actually considering triple nets, or they want just the benefits, but they don't really know what else is out there?
I don't think anyone I've dealt with has known what a DST was. I had to explain it to them.
Yep.
Which I was a bit surprised, but
Mm-hmm.
but no one really knew. And when they understood what it was, they liked the idea of it, but were very skeptical. It's a new product. I said, but it's a new product because the IRS approved the Delaware Statutory Trust process to be an exchangeable process. So they are more open. And then once they get more information, and always the question is, well, would you invest in this? And I always say, I'm already in.
Yep. And now as a broker, it's your job to advise the client because you're the subject matter expert in the real estate. Do you think other brokers are doing a disservice by not at least introducing the DST as an option for their 1031 exchange?
A tremendous disservice. Otherwise, the opportunities are very narrow. And going back into a different property can be just put them back in the same position they were in.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if they're looking, if they're looking for another property to replace the one they had that's less headache,
Yep.
The reality is it's not going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be the same, maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more. You don't know until you get there. It's a crapshoot. With a DST, you're completely hands off. You put your trust in somebody else that knows how to handle these assets better than you.
And then what would you say to a broker that hasn't worked with Kingsbarn and is thinking about introducing their client to us for the first time, but might not necessarily be as confident on how we're going to, handle that transition from them to us?
Well, the transition is pretty seamless. I've handed people to you
Mm-hmm.
to talk to them, and everybody's been very, very pleased.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got no resistance whatsoever in terms of Kingsbarn being dubious. They've always been very comfortable, and I believe they've all moved forward.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think you've continued to do repeat business with Kingsbarn? Because your first exchange a couple years ago to now growing to 8 separate DSTs, what was it that made you comfortable to continue to invest in new products as they became available?
Well, what got me to invest was I like the products. What's keeping me at Kingsbarn is the management and how they are bringing younger management up. They are moving people from within that know the company and know DSTs. And my concern for me personally is I don't want somebody my age or advancing from my age to be handling my future income. I'm looking for people that grow up in the industry and have the ability to make good decisions, and they have a better grasp of what's going on at the time, because they're growing with it. Industries change, and we need people that grow with it. You don't want somebody, no disrespect to anybody, but you don't want anybody that's a dinosaur handling your asset, especially when I get in advanced years, because that can be termed as sometimes the reversal of fortune.
Now, you wear two hats, both as a broker and as an investor. We went through what made you originally invest into DSTs, but is there a specific story or situation with a tenant or legislation that really got you to say, hey, I need to move out of active management and go into something that's a passive structure?
Well, with legislation, most of my properties are in the city of Los Angeles, and they've made it harder to be a landlord. That wasn't discouraging me. I was just hoping that as I got older, it would get easier, not harder. So that's what has really made me make the decision to move out of residential income there. If I was 35 years old, I'd be jumping in with both feet, but I'm not, and I don't want to deal with the headache. I want less headache. So that's why the DST is really good for me. In terms of dealing with tenants, I've had tenants that, how can I say this, have sucked the life out of me. I've had some that are so difficult that they will not pay their rent until you make the phone call. There are tenants that seem to think they own their property and make demands of you, and will call the city on you and just make things miserable until whatever entity we're dealing with, whatever government agency they've called, realizes the tenant is the problem. I've had tenants that during COVID, people would say to me, I don't have to pay. I said, no, you have to pay. And if you have the ability to pay, you're actually required to pay. I just can't throw you out if you don't. I said, it's not going to bode well for you when we come to the tail end of this, and you're going to have to pay me. And some people got evicted. I had one tenant that she manipulated every law and every ordinance to her advantage until I gave her enough rope to hang herself, and we finally were able to evict her after her being difficult through COVID. And prior to that, she was...
How many years did it take to actually get the eviction?
Get the eviction? Well, once we got to that point, getting to the point where we could evict her took 12 years because she was so difficult and manipulative. But once we got her to the point where she could be evicted, it happened relatively quickly because she had no legs to stand on, and I had a mountain of evidence to demonstrate her character and what she had done, and also what was going on. I mean, I had to take copious notes, and this is something I'm trying not to do. So having a DST, I don't have to worry about these things anymore. No, I have personnel that would deal with the headaches. When they were bigger headaches, they got deferred to me. So if they came to me, it was something that somebody else could not rectify. So I'm having to deal with, I wanted to say lunatic, but we'll just say the difficult people. And I didn't understand a lot of the pain that these people would try and inflict. It's as if they own the property and they had these certain rights. A lot of them found out the hard way they didn't have these rights because they did not own the property. But it's a process. It's like anything else. Every business has its difficulty. So real estate has its difficulties. So residential income has probably more than people realize. It is work to own residential income property.
So now you realize you didn't want to deal with the stresses anymore that you just described, and you're looking for other avenues. The DST looks good, but what concerns did you have before actually, placing your hard-earned equity into a DST with Kingsbarn?
Of course, it's always safety.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked at the products they were providing, and I looked at more of institutional or companies that were either institutional or had longevity.
Mm-hmm.
And also looked at Kingsbarn itself. Kingsbarn has been in DSTs since DSTs were allowed by the IRS.
Mm-hmm.
So that brought my confidence level up. But just dealing with people at Kingsbarn was very positive. And the amount of information that was available and the clarity of answers when I had a question, it was very positive. Everything was very positive.
Okay, so now you did your due diligence, you're out of fee simple real estate, you're now in the DST program. What do you like most about the structure around our platform?
I do nothing. I just verify that the amounts I receive each month are correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I harangue you once in a while,
Mm-hmm.
ask you some questions, and when there's trepidation, I call you and you relieve that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have much more trepidation anymore.
And then as far as because you were very involved with the fee simple real estate day-to-day management, do you feel like the reports that are given to you gives you enough information to feel confident that we're doing what we're doing alongside of the monthly dividends that get paid out? Do you feel like the reporting has made you feel like you are still involved, but not involved in a way that is stressful or dealing with day-to-day management type issues?
I don't know if it makes me feel involved. It just makes me feel comfortable that I'm getting information that tells me what the asset is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking to get out of the day-to-day, so
Yep.
not doing the day-to-day has been spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
And getting the monthly reports, and I'll be candid, I don't do a deep dive into them. I look at them for broad strokes,
Mm-hmm.
and my comfort level is very good.
Okay. Now, as far as diversification, because you're in 8 DSTs, you're in separate asset classes, separate tenants, separate states throughout the country, how easy has the DST been to diversify, and how important is that to you as you build this next portfolio out of fee simple real estate?
Well, diversification is good for protecting against downturns around the country.
Mm-hmm.
Different parts of the country get affected differently for different things. It can be weather, it can be unions, it can be anything, but different parts of the country get affected differently. So if we're going to have a property that most likely will not change its performance, but might change in value because of what's going on, we'll just hold on a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. But in terms of that diversification, it's comforting. Mm-hmm. It's comforting to know that we will be transitioning out of one property and into another, and mm-hmm. because it's doing well, and by the timeline, hopefully all of them will perform as they are expected to. I'm very confident they mm-hmm. will, and that we'll be able to go into other asset classes, and that the ones that exist, they'll continue to perform, and they will perform hopefully exemplary for the areas they're in.
Mm-hmm. Now, as an investor, how has your overall experience been working with Kingsbarn?
Everything's been positive. I can't express it enough. Everything's been very positive. Very good communication. Communication is so key in terms of comfort level for your clients. Mm-hmm. So I'm comfortable telling people that they can call you because you communicate, and I enjoy the communication that I get from Kingsbarn.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I wanted to follow up on. Besides myself, there's other resources here that you have available, investor relations. We have our full closing team. Has that made your 1031 exchanges and your transitions much easier, having a team around you that's able to help facilitate this, talk to the accommodator, if you could elaborate on that?
It didn't have to do much once the property was identified, which was done before. Mm-hmm. It was pretty much done before we closed, and as soon as we closed, I just let the accommodator know it's going to Kingsbarn. Mm-hmm. I said, someone will contact you. I'm not sure if it was you or if it was somebody from the closing team or the transition team, but it was taken care of. All we had to do was sign the appropriate documents, and I had to, they would just send me the document I needed to sign so the transition could take place. and very few documents, and it was very deliberate in terms of what I received and in terms of how to execute it. It was really just signatures, but you want to make sure you're signing the right thing. And what you're signing, you want to have confidence in what you're signing. And when the document you get from Kingsbarn expresses exactly what you were talking about in terms of which investment, it brings your confidence level up. There were no mistakes made. And getting the accommodator to work with, or the accommodator working with Kingsbarn was pretty flawless. If there were any issues, I never saw them. It was fantastic.
So we went from you owning fee simple real estate to then doing due diligence on DSTs to then finally investing and now being an investor in multiple. Are there any surprises, either positive or negative, from the experience? Things that you didn't necessarily expect, whether it was good or bad?
Well, to be honest with you, there are really no surprises. That's the surprise. The surprise that it was as expected. And as expected is really good for somebody that's actually transitioning their life. I'm working less and trying to enjoy more. So surprise is not always a good thing. The lack of surprise is the good thing. And I'm surprised that there was a lack of surprise, and that's good.
Of course. And then I hear a lot of times on the phone, this sounds too good to be true. Being someone that has invested into our DST program, do you feel like we do everything we say we're going to do up front and that we follow throughout the duration of your time being in the program?
100%. It's always been that way through the 8 investments that I've done myself. And I've assisted my clients in their transition, and they're pleased. We're all pleased in terms of communication and getting it done. And everyone's been very pleased because there's been investments available at the time of their closing, that they didn't lose any income.
So now, going beyond the investments, looking more at the investor, has being in a DST improved your quality of life from apartment ownership to DSTs?
Tremendously. I'm much more relaxed. I don't wear suits every day. I'm so much more relaxed. I can't express it. I'll just stammer on it. It's so nice to not come into the office and see a stack of notes of issues that are going on that have to be dealt with. And each time I relieve myself of a property and gain a DST, I have that much less stress.
And then what would you say to someone who's hesitant about investing in DSTs?
Just make sure you invest in the right DST. Make sure you find the right company. And I think I found the right company.
And do you see yourself continuing, because you have a large portfolio, do you see yourself continuing to sell fee simple deals and transition them into DSTs?
Yes, well, definitely mine, because of where I want to be in terms of stress level. Like I said, if I was 35 years old, I would probably be jumping in both feet into residential income, but I'm not. I prefer the lack of headache.
Perfect, David. Well, I appreciate the time. And everyone, this is David Rosenfeld. He's with Advantage Real Estate in Santa Monica. He is a broker, and he's readily available to answer any questions you may have on real estate or on the DST side as well. So we'll make sure his contact information is available to you. And I thank you all for listening.